Faisal Islam at the G7 meeting in London.
A US government report on sightings of unidentified flying objects has found no evidence of alien activity, but intriguingly does not rule it out either. The product of a US military task force established last year to investigate decades of unexplained aerial sightings. The report reviewed 120 incidents and is expected to conclude that US technology was, in most cases, not involved. Beyond that, however, the report makes no definitive assessments about the objects and what the objects might be. Well, let's speak now to Sean Cahill, a retired US Navy Chief Master at Arms. Sean, thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Your sightings in 2004, whilst on board the USS Princeton off the coast of San Diego, triggered this inquiry. What do you remember seeing?
In 2004, when I was stationed on board the USS Princeton, we spent a few days coordinating ship's efforts to find these objects on our radar and then send F-18 aircraft after them. I was able to witness 5 to 7 lights about 45 degrees off the port bow that moved towards a center point and all blinked out individually. This seemed to correspond with the data that we were receiving on the radar and from the gun camera footage as well.
And on our screens is something called the tic-tac. Can you explain that?
Yes, what you're probably looking at right now is the gun camera footage that was returned from a sortie that was sent out to investigate these objects. What you're seeing there is a craft that had no control surfaces, no wings, no obvious means of propulsion, and was showing cold on the infrared. All of these things don't match with the aircraft that we utilize in our arsenal, and then they were witnessed to utilize instantaneous acceleration and hypersonic velocity while preceding the aircraft to their cap point.
Wow, so you've seen some odd things. Now, this report, having reviewed around 120 objects, is likely to suggest that they're not American secrets. Maybe they're Chinese, maybe they're Russian or otherworldly. But for all intensive purposes, they remain unidentified.
That's correct. I think it would be a mistake to immediately assume there are near-peer adversaries. They are unidentified. I don't believe that our peers at the moment possess the technology capable of the 5 observables that Luis Elizondo mentions, but they are truly unidentified. So to make a leap beyond that would be a mistake.
Is the way that they are handling this helping to dispel the stigma around chasing aliens, or is it making it worse?
That's a very slippery slope there. There are many aspects of people that are investigating this that want to keep it nuts and bolts and keep it pragmatic for the rest of us so we can understand it. And there are some that want to jump ahead and apply their own views to it. I think it's best that all of us stay in the middle of the road as much as possible.
And are these sightings an American thing? A lot of these seem to be coming from America. Or do you think that there are other sightings, but we're just not hearing about them from other militaries?
I think the latter is most likely correct because the reports that are out there, if we're willing to look for them, do state that this is most likely a global and an international issue. I think a lot of times the American media and the American military's ability to detect these things with their technology may eclipse the other reports that come in.
Sean Cahill, a retired US Navy Chief Master at Arms. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Now, when Australian pathology technician Tiffany